Hey everybody, we are live from the barn and answering questions that are sent in by you guys. Today's question's all about shanks and what difference the shanks make when you choose a bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about Calvary shanks and Loomis shanks. We're going to talk just a little bit about the length of the shank. One of the other questions that was sent in about shanks was which one has the most pull, or which one is stronger. And then Lisa sent in a question about movable shanks versus fixed shanks and when you should pick each one of those. So we have some bits here and we're gonna go through that. Do you have anything really brilliant to start us off with?
I don't even have anything brilliant to end with.
Okay, so let's start with what is a Calvary shank versus what is a Loomis shank, because that was one of the questions.
So the Calvary shank...
Maybe we should start with what is a shank in case somebody's like, what are shanks?
So we're talking Western bits here. I guess some English bits have shanks too. Mm-hmm. We've graduated out of the snaffle. We're into full bridle bits. The shank is this bar that comes down here. It is meant for leverage with a curb strap to lift that horse's chin up and bring them in soft that way, so there's not as much pressure on the bars of their mouth as you would have with a snaffle. You're increasing it because now you're bringing leverage up and you don't have to pull as hard, and it comes off of the chin in through their mouth and up into your hand. So that is shank. The difference of what some people would call a straighter shank, or in the reigning Western performance disciplines, the Loomis shank got very famous. Obviously designed by NRHA trainer Bob Loomis, was the little bit of swept back as the shank come down, gave a little signal, helped that horse know that you were coming into that bridle. There's a million different versions, but a lot of the bit makers call them Loomis shanks. It's kind of a standard thing. Calvary shanks were mass-produced bits, obviously by the Calvary, the U.S. Calvary. And what it was they swept back. As soon as it came down off of where the mouthpiece ties in, it swept back and came up. And what they were designed for were not everybody in the military horse people. You know, they were brought into the military, taught how to ride a horse real quick, said, here you go. They were a little more forgiving on the horse's mouth if they accidentally bumped them side to side. It was a little easier for them horses to graze. There's multiple reasons why the Calvary loved them so much. And then they just adapted the term Calvary shank to anything that was swept back. Nowadays we have a million different versions of them. They all work on the same principle.
And then just to be clear, so that one, this one with the Loomis shank, this one is movable. And then this Calvary shank, this one is fixed, but you can have a Calvary shank that moves and you can have a Loomis that's fixed.
Yeah, so that part is totally separate.
That's separate.
The Calvary shank or the straight shank is only referring to the build of the shank coming down. Mm-hmm. What were some of the questions?
Well, yeah, the questions were, what is a Loomis shank and what is a Calvary shank and what is the difference between them? And then which one has more pull or more bite, I guess. The question was which one's more severe.
Neither one is either more severe. It's a different direction that they're pulling in. So with this Loomis shank, when you pull, this pulls this way. Excuse me. And it pulls that nose down just a hair, brings their pull down as they come in, giving a little more flat downward look to the horse's neck. The Calvary shank, because of where it comes off of the mouthpiece, comes straight back. So when you pull, you're actually pulling this little part where the mouth is, you're pulling that up. Obviously this one's not a new one, it's one of my using ones. So it's a different place you're pulling in. Some horses just like them better. If you have the old, about 20, 30 years ago, everything was Calvary shanks because a lot of the horses, they were getting them so low-headed and downhill that they had to kind of pick their shoulders up a little bit. These were a wonderful bit in that time. We still see them used a lot. Today, I feel like now we're seeing more like 50-50 just because of the types of horses we're riding. Neither one's more severe. What makes the severity of it is how straight this is. So this one here, your line of your pull would be here. It's this far back, so it gives lots of warning. When they're straight up and down, they don't warn the horse that you're coming into his face. And then the other thing that gives severity is the ratio from your pull to your purchase. This is the purchase, this piece up here. This is your pull. So when you have really short here and really long here, that becomes quite severe. Just because of leverage, if you have an 8-to-1 or a 10-to-1 ratio compared to a 1.5 inch purchase, then that definitely increases how hard that thing is going to bump in there when you do pull. Similar to, just think of it as a pry bar. How you would adjust that. You want your center point of pull here. There's the object you're trying to move. So the longer this is compared to this is where the severity is going to come from.
Okay, so if somebody feels like they're pulling a lot and they want to pull less, what should they look for?
A better horse trainer?
Better horse trainer. More leg, more spur. I like the questions around bits are so tricky, is because I feel like a lot of the questions are like kind of laced with misconceptions about bits, right? Like I think people think you go with a mild bit, you go with a severe bit, and that's what it is. But there's actually so much more to it than that. So I guess I'm trying to just generalize it. If somebody's looking for, like if somebody feels like they want to try something different because their horse is luggy, what are some of the options that they can look for?
If they're luggy straight down, then you'd want to straighten up your shanks a little bit. If that horse is, non-responsive, then I don't feel like straightening your shanks is always your best idea. Changing them up quite a bit, I think, is a great way to do it. If I have a horse that's kind of lazy in the face, I might ride in different bits. Every 3 days, switch a bit so that they never feel super comfortable. Oh, I know this is the bit, and they lay down in it. We see that so often. People say, oh, my horse loves this bit, and they ride in it every day. And the horse just leans on that bit, and the people have to pull on them. Other things with severity that I think a lot of people don't look into as much is changing the mouthpieces. I don't think we want to get into every part of the bit, but when we look at, this bit here is swept back here, and then the mouthpiece is swept back in here. Can't really see it that great. But this rolls back into here. It sits against the top of that mouth, and then you can lift that mouth up. If you have a horse that's really luggy, and there's a difference between untrained, unknowledgeable, and luggy. We definitely have some horses that we show, everybody does, that are just heavy-mouthed horses. They know their jobs, they know their deal, so I'll put something maybe a little straighter in those when I go to show them so that I have a little life to them. But they spent a lot of time getting pulled on, getting softened, so that they understand their job. If they're just luggy because they just aren't broke, that's a horse training problem. That's not a bit problem.
Yeah, you can't change a bit. Yeah. Okay, and then there's so many questions. I feel like there's so much with bits. There's so many questions. So the other question that was sent in was from Lisa, which was, when should I go to a fixed shank versus a movable shank? What is the function for each?
I feel like a movable shank is where this moves side to side. And then a fixed shank, this one doesn't move at all. If you're going to have to pull your horse around and plow rein him or direct rein him, because of his lack of brokenness, training, definitely need to use the word training more than broke, then I would stick with your movable shanks. Lots of horses like a movable shank a little bit because they feel not as bumped in it. With a fixed shank, it's a more of a bumping feel. So if your horse gets a little luggy and wants to kind of hang on something, you have to kind of let go and bump them back. But to me, one of the biggest things is you know, if I'm gonna direct rein them, I want to have a movable shank so that the shank moves with my hand. Is a big one. So this one here is a style of, similar to a Calvary, they call it switchback, but it's a style of the Calvary where it comes back and then it lifts up a little bit. And when you pull this bit here, having a movable shank, will come out to the side and then you can pull it around. This one here is actually a very confusing bit for a lot of people to understand.
I have to hold it up a bit.
Because they see the spade and the port on the top and they feel like it's very severe. It's actually not, because that is so swept back. I don't know if you can, I can't really angle it to see the mouthpiece, but this is so swept back that it sits against the top of that horse comfortably where his mouth goes, and it narrows as it gets to the top, so it fits inside the jaw. With the taller ports, you don't want to bang them side to side. It's meant to be used more one-handed and kept straight into a bridle or a set of ramels. But the shank needs to be tried in every horse. And I know that's not something, like if you're looking to buy bits, you know, one thing we tell people all the time is, here, ride one. You know, ride one of mine, see if it's the feel you want. Because I've had some horses where I think, man, this horse is going to hate an ace of spades, or he's going to hate Slim Jim, or whatever, you know, all the different names for him. And they'll shock you. You know, 9 times out of 10, we can kind of predict where they're going to go, but they'll always shock you. And like a different bit or like a different way. And the other one that a lot of people don't understand is it's not even just the horse that we're trying to accommodate. Us, where we coach a fair bit, it's also how the rider rides that we're trying to accommodate. If we have a rider that likes to hang up on them things' mouths, I'm not going to hand them a solid shanked bit and let them, you know, hang on them horses' bars all the time. I'm going to give them as much movable pieces as I can so that it buffers into that horse. What do you think?
It's tricky. It's such a tricky question because I think, like we're saying, the level of training or the level of brokenness, and that's such a big spectrum. You know, there's like the horses that are starting out in hackamores or snaffles, and then they're, you know, kind of going into shanks, going into like a little correction or something, and then going up into a bar bit, and then, you know, there's a huge difference. Just because your horse is 6 doesn't mean that they're broke and they're finished. Just because your horse is 3 doesn't mean that they're not very broke and they can't handle a more, you know, there's so much to all the different parts, the training component, the individual, the conformation of the individual horse's mouth, accommodating for the rider. And then also trying to figure out, like, one of the things that I have learned, I feel like a lot about in the last little while is more about how each bit affects each different maneuver. Like, it really depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve. I feel like there's some that I like for one maneuver and I don't like them so much for another maneuver. Like, I might want to put one on to practice stopping, and I might not want that on to go, you know, work on my spins or work my lead changes. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. And I think you really nailed
The
it.
hardest part is you got to figure out which one you show best in across every
Across
maneuver.
all of the maneuvers, depending on what you're trying to achieve in the show pen. Yeah, it's. I think bits are very, very tricky to understand and to develop your eye and your feel for, but I think they are a majorly underutilized tool by most people that I see showing. Would you agree?
Yeah, because the three things I see, I bought this bit because I liked how it looks and all my buddies were riding in it. Mm-hmm. I used this bit on old Flicka years ago and I really liked it on him.
Yeah.
Or, well, I got it, let's just use what I got.
This is what I got. Or I got it because my trainer showed my horse in this. And that doesn't necessarily mean that a year or 2 years later,
or the same weekend.
Or even the same weekend.
There's lots of horses all riding a different bit and then tell a customer to ride in something different.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the big ones too that I guess people ask and that we have to figure out too is weights.
Yeah.
You know, like this bit here has a fair amount of weight to it. Got really popular in the reiners and the cow horses. Where they, you know, there's a bunch of versions of it. But that one has a fair amount of weight. This one here actually has a little bit of weight to it. You can get one lighter. And figuring out which horses, if I have a horse that needs to constantly be told, hey, there's the bit, let's say they're a little active minded, I'm usually going to put that heavier weight in there so they kind of feel it all the time, not as a training tool, but as a showing tool. Mm-hmm. And then if I have a customer that wants to maybe slap their hand around just a little fast in a rollback, I'm not going to give them a heavy weight. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give them a lot of sweat back in that mouthpiece. I'm going to give that horse a lot of opportunity to know it's coming. And I feel like that gets to be a big part of it. We have the shank with the ratio of purchase to shank. And that part, we have the mouthpiece for how much clearance there is in the tongue, how much port there is. And then obviously weight comes into play so that when then people move their hands and swap them around a little bit, they can say, hey, you know what, this horse is all right with this. Mm-hmm. And I think those are big factors in that. And anybody that, you know, is listening, but, you know, is a little confused, but this is something that and don't get a coach's help. Get somebody who knows bits. Mm-hmm. Get somebody,
it can be the same.
I shouldn't say don't get your coach's help. A coach and
somebody who knows bits can be the same thing.
So many coaches that we see, it's, well, we all ride in this one bit. Yeah. And to a degree, it actually works because most coaches will always try to buy the same horse because they know how to work with them. Yeah. They'll teach the customers the same way because they know that that's what works. Mm-hmm. So the horses will get...
to a point.
Yeah, to a point. Mm-hmm. I have a couple friends that I know that, like I can tell you what their customer is going to want just because of who they ride with. Mm-hmm. You know, there is that part of it, but it is an exploring thing where you need to try a bunch. Don't try them the night before you show at a horse show, but, you know, try a whole bunch of different bits and see what your horse feels comfortable and what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, and then I think, you know, I know a few of the people that are watching this are people that are interested in ordering bits, buying something new. You know, they kind of know that they need to try something new and they want like a new tool in the toolbox, right? Something else to help them kind of get to the next level and, you know, help them when they're showing, help them with their, whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish with their riding. And I think the ideal, like you said, the ideal situation is you can try some. You know, like for people that are local to us or people that are coming in and out taking lessons or here for clinics or the horses are here for training, you know, we have a huge wall of bits.
You do.
You have a massive
you collect
bit
your
collection, which I really appreciate more and more as, you know, we can try a lot of different things to see what works for different horses. And that's the easiest, is to just put it on the horse's head and go try it. Go do some maneuvers and go try it. If you can't do that, if you're not in a situation, like if you are somewhere rural, you don't have access to somebody who knows bits, you don't have access to somebody who knows, you know, reiners or knows ranch riding horses or knows whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, we can tell quite a bit from a video. You know, we've had people send videos of them riding their horse. It does not help me as much for you to send me a video of your horse being shown by the trainer. It helps me if you can send me a video of you showing your horse or you riding your horse, and telling me a little bit about some of the bits that they have had and that you have liked. We can make a pretty well-educated guess with that information if you are not local. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, you know, it definitely goes back to what your friend liked in your horse or what your trainer likes in your horse. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be what you like in that horse. Mm-hmm. The only thing that
because how many times do you hear like, oh, it'll change leads for the trainer, but it won't for me? Well,
your skill set is
set's different, and we can change things around by changing the bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not saying we can get your lead changes to work by changing the bit, but we might be able to.
That is a very expensive
I mean, that'd be a really, yeah.
I think the neat thing with the bits, though, when people order them anymore, there's so many options. The bit makers have gotten so talented.
Oh my gosh, there's so many options. That makes it tricky.
With mouthpieces, and I see this all the time. People will say, well, what about this mouthpiece? What about that mouthpiece? So many times the function is the same. It is the artistic part of it that they're, you know, like they're saying one brand over another one. Well, this one looks similar to that, whatever. So many times it's the artistic part of it. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to ignore when you're looking at a bit. And then knowing that function of like why it works a certain way, what part's decoration, what part's function, and then figure out that part first, figure out what bit is going to work, and then at that point you get to have a little bit of fun with the designs of it. You know, like there's one of my go-tos for years. I love this bit. And I've showed some really nice horses in that bit. It is not the fanciest. That bit there is likely, I bet you it's 30 years old. It's one of the first ones I ever bought off Dutton's years ago. And it's ugly. It needs me to clean it, but that's not the bit's fault. But it has been a go-to for so many horses to stay good. And then you have versions where you can doll them up a little bit. You can put silver on the sides of those ones. Like this one here, you know, there's tons of silver and design work on there. Some of that has function, and some of it is just design. And once you get to that point, then it just becomes how artsy and how fancy you want. Yeah. You know, you can do initials, you can do brands, you can do, I mean, the sky's the limit with anymore with the bit makers. Mm-hmm. You know, they can all do silvers on the sides or designs in the steel. Which one's your favorite design?
I really like that. I really like the silver. Oops, sorry, your fingers are stuck in the holes. I really like that floral silver up on the top. I love the combination with that antiqued finish. I also really like, you want to grab those?
Which fun.
This one's the silver at the top, the Equalizer, and what's the other one? The Mustang? No, that's not the Mustang. What's that called? Malibu. Also really like this silver. I don't know how well you can see that. That engraved silver up at the top with the rust iron, I think is really pretty. With or without the dots. The dots are neat. And Tom Balding does those by hand. He puts each one of those on by hand. And then, gosh, I like all of them. I don't feel like you can go wrong with these, with the Baldings. They're so pretty. Look at that one. I really like that silver pattern too with that ball joint in there. Haven't ridden in this one yet, but I really like that one. What do you like the best?
I like them just when they're different.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but like I see so many people, oh, I want this one because I like my friends. Like I like those ones. Mm-hmm. They're cool. Mm-hmm. But when I like a bits, one thing that intrigues me is when like they're just different.
I like when,
you know, the guys can be so good on the designs. Mm-hmm. You know, I just think that becomes neat. The one thing,
wish I could hold these up so you could see all three of them properly at the same time, but they're pretty, it's a pretty neat collection.
I'll go for
bits. Oh, 4, there we go.
So those are kind of dolled
Pretty
up,
neat.
you know, and made to look different.
Yeah.
They're, the main thing is knowing which bit you like the feel of first, and then after that it's just the fun of,
Yeah.
you know, guessing what
Oh
they
yeah,
are.
because that silver on the side takes the price point way up.
Mm-hmm.
Like the silver on the side, like you can get that mouthpiece. You know, you can get that mouthpiece with just those shanks, or you can get a mouthpiece like that, and then you can get these, you know, sterling silver engraved stuff. Changes the price point a lot.
Right. And there's 2 bits there when you talk about design. So you have that mouthpiece and that mouthpiece. They're exactly the same. Now this one's a shorter shank, but they're both swept back. I don't know how to put it so they would make sense. The one is shorter. I understand that, but they're both swept back that little bit. Mm-hmm. So they have a very similar function. This one's a hair heavier, but they have a very similar function. They just put the artistic part of it in there. Mm-hmm. And horses don't care about artistic because, I mean, I've went back to that bit on so many horses over the years. I'll show something in that this weekend likely. And Dunn's have made me a bunch with silver on the side. I've just always sold those ones. Mm-hmm. And I've kept this one.
Nobody wanted that one?
Nobody wants it because it's old. Like it's old and it's rusty, and we have really bad sulfur water here, so everything rusts up so fast. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the horses don't care. Mm-hmm. You know, and let's be 100% honest. When the judge is sitting in the chair,
yeah, they don't care.
He can't see it.
No.
That's a personal preference. Mm-hmm. You know, go with the one that works. Mm-hmm. You know, standard mouthpieces. You know, I think that goes back to a very standard. In the reiners, you know, not all of them have the rollers. That one's cow horse legal. You have to put a slobber straps and ramels on it, but that one's legal in the NRCHA, legal in AQHA, NRHA, all that stuff. And it goes back to that's a really nice bit for most people. It's a little swept back. Horses don't get offended by it. Mm-hmm. You know, works great. There's not a ton of difference in feel to this one. It still has a little bit of tongue relief.
Yeah, you're getting into mouthpieces a lot now.
Well, you shouldn't go off on a rant.
Getting off topic a little bit here.
You know, and that just becomes the artistic way they like them to be in there. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to get off the tongues in the middle of the mouth, mm-hmm. You know, put a little port in there to get them off that top of the mouth and let them run.
Do you think that when you choose a shank for your horse, beyond just the function of it, that there's anything that you should keep in mind as far as what looks good?
If I have a horse that's very mouthy, mm-hmm. I am not going to put a ton of silver there. Mm-hmm. If I have a horse that is so steady with their face, you know, you don't have to touch them a whole lot. They're so steady. I might try to put a little more silver there. Mm-hmm. You know, show off the good, hide the bad. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I was thinking that exact same thing.
Yeah, for me, it's a bunch of how they ride. Like if they ride and they're a little wiggly, I'm going to stiffen up the shanks a little bit.
Yeah.
If they are maybe just a little bit of a deadhead, you know, I might change that curb strap and maybe straighten up them shanks a little bit. But as far as like silver to non-silver, a lot of, like, I don't want a horse that runs around there going.
Or even shiny, like even stainless steel versus like blued steel. That stainless steel, you don't have to have silver and stuff on it, but like stainless steel is bright and shiny, and on a brown horse or a black horse, or you know, like where their skin is dark, that's going to stand out.
And if
more,
like if you roll back and they're going to move their face a lot,
it.
just tone it down on there.
Yeah.
I'm not maybe the best stainless person. I don't love stainless.
I don't love stainless either.
That's one.
No.
I like when they're welded together to make different looks.
Yeah.
But I'm much more content with just.
Yeah, and then balding has this cool option where it's brushed. So it's got like more of a matte finish, so it doesn't catch the light as much as. Do we have a stainless one? That one behind you over there is stainless.
Well, the inside of that one.
The inside of that is. Oh, you
really
can't
tell
really
the difference
tell
on the video.
On the video, no. But this one doesn't catch. Yeah, this doesn't catch the light as much because it has a little bit of a brushed finish. Whereas stainless, that shiny stainless will catch the light. Okay, I hope we've answered those questions there. So we talked about.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, you can add whatever you want.
And this is my.
Oh, what are you saying? I'm
Pet
getting nervous
peeve
now.
of the day.
Pet peeve
goes
of the day.
back to, well, maybe not the day.
Oh.
Cheap bits in horses' mouths suck.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Yeah.
You need to have one of two things on these bits. They either need to have this tube in here. That horse's mouth sits in there. As this gets worn out, it's not going to pinch. When you look at those old cheap, well, them old Tom Thumbs were always horrible, where it came straight across. These ones here are put on with what they call a ball joint. So the lips of that horse's mouth are against that ball. It doesn't pinch in there. If you're feeling...
We have a Tom Thumb right here.
Why do we have a Tom Thumb here? Oh. If there's a straight line across there and that horse's lips can be near that, it's going to pinch, and you will really struggle training that horse when they think that that might bite into them. So yeah, where that comes across, it goes straight into there, and as it gets loose, there's a little piece in there, and I can pinch my finger in there.
All right, we'll use it on the kid's pony.
Wow,
we should put a different one.
Want to buy a balding for the pony?
Buy a balding for the.
Here, the lip comes up against there, and it cannot pinch. And the same with the hinge on the bottom of a correction bit. If those things are loose and they're pinchable, get rid of them. Bits with movable parts, like a correction bit, over time will wear out. It's a movable part. It will. Every good bit maker, I know Duttons will do it, I know Baldings will do it. You send them back, and they will redo the correction parts of it.
Yeah, the joint.
Do not get it where it's pinching that horse's mouth. If you're coming out and you can feel them things pinching right there, you know, don't ride in cheap tack. Doesn't have to be expensive tack. It just can't be poor made tack. I guess that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
I have lots of cheap stuff.
Okay. Inexpensive.
Inexpensive.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about Loomis shank versus a Calvary shank. We talked about kind of severity. We kind of talked about some of the functions of the different shanks. We talked a little bit about the ratio of the purchase to the shank, purchase to the pole. We spilled over a little bit, talked a little bit about mouthpiece, talked a little bit how the shanks attach to the mouthpiece. If you have further questions about these, we're happy to answer them for you. You can leave them in the comments section here, wherever you're catching us. You can send them in to us at our email, which is hazekofalph@gmail.com. If you have a suggestion for a future live about shanks or bits or not, you're welcome to send that in and we'll get it answered for you. And like I said, if you are looking for a consultation, if you're looking to try to figure out what way to go with your horse, give us a shout. We're happy to try to tell you what we can. We might not be able to help you, but we'll for sure have a look at what we can and answer whatever questions we can and try to get you on the right track.
And if anybody's looking for a bit, buy one with a roller or a cricket because they're really fun to play with.
If you have somebody that's fidgety, get them one because it's like a very expensive fidget spinner.
But it's a way cooler one.
But cooler, yeah. Okay, thanks for being here with us, you guys, and we will see you next week.
Have a good day.